Not all rental properties are created equal, and the number of bedrooms might be the most underestimated factor that affects everything from tenant retention to resale value. Today, we're unpacking the real pros and cons of two-bedroom versus three-bedroom rental homes and how that one extra room can change your entire investment outlook. Miss this nuance, and you could be facing higher vacancy rates, lower cash flow, and fewer exit opportunities when it's time to sell. Let's make sure your investment strategy isn't missing the mark. So let's say you're looking at two rental properties. One is a cozy, affordable two-bedroom in a decent area. The other is a slightly more expensive three-bedroom just down the street. Which one do you choose? And that's exactly what we're going to help you decide today. Two-bedroom homes generally have a lower purchase price, allowing for a smaller mortgage and less upfront capital. Now, this may allow you to purchase multiple properties faster, making it appealing for early-stage investors. The lower acquisition costs also reduce your exposure if the market declines. In many markets, the price gap between two-bedroom and three-bed homes can be 10 to 20%, but of course this varies region by region. But let's talk about rental income and cash flow, because a three-bedroom home will almost always command a higher rent, sometimes by $200 to $400 or more monthly. However, this doesn't always mean better ROI, return on investment, because in some cases, the increased rent doesn't offset the higher purchase and then the maintenance and the mortgage payment. So it's critical to compare rent to price ratios. So if a three-bedroom rents for 20% more, but costs 30% more, the two-bed may be the better cash flowing option. In high-demand areas with larger families or multiple tenants, like students, shared housing, co-housing, co-living, a three-bedroom home can generate even more income through room-by-room rental strategies. Okay, another thing to consider is tenant longevity and demographics. Families, I would say, is the ultimate tenant profile. Families are more likely to stay long-term, especially if their children are enrolled in the local schools. Two-bedroom homes tend to be more transitional. Think students, couples, roommates, single parents. Increased turnover costs, therefore, and increased vacancy risk. Less turnover equals fewer make-readies, less advertising, and fewer missed months of rent. So therefore, a three-bedroom home is often seen as a step-up property for tenants, giving them more stability and less motivation to move. It feels like a home to them rather than a transition. Let's talk about resale value and market appeal. Three-bedroom homes appeal to a broader market. I don't think that's not an opinion, that's a fact. First-time home buyers, moving up buyers, and even investors. And flippers too. During resale, three-bedroom properties typically have more buyers and are easier to market, particularly in family-friendly neighborhoods. According to national real estate data, three-bedroom homes are the most commonly purchased property type in North America. Now, a two-bedroom home may take longer to sell and attract fewer offers, and could be limited to only investors or downsizers. However, there are maintenance and operating costs to consider. There's always going to be pluses and negatives on each side of the column. While not always obvious, a larger property often comes with larger maintenance bills. Higher property taxes, more surface area to repair, a bigger roof, right? Bigger furnace, higher heating, cooling costs. On the flip side, fewer tenants move in and out of a three-bedroom, and that can reduce wear and tear. So what do? It's also worth noting that the third bedroom may add complexity when doing renovations or upgrades. Again, you're adding another, 10 by 10 room, that's 100 square feet multiplied by flooring. Everything's priced out per square foot these days. Also, insurance premiums and utility costs may also be slightly higher. So let's talk about local market trends though, because I'm referring specifically to three-bedroom versus two-bedroom, but not everything is cookie cutter. So considering, if your local market, you might be in a very trendy neighborhood, you're looking in a trendy neighborhood where, families don't want to live there. Maybe there isn't a lot of parking, and there's just more buses, more foot traffic, more trendy restaurants, nightclubs, whatever it might be. That might be a better market for a two-bedroom. Maybe an STR, short-term rental, area, maybe that is something where a 2-bedroom STR is going to outperform a 3-bedroom STR because it's just too expensive and most people don't need a 3-bedroom STR for a few nights stay. In some urban cores, a 2-bedroom home may be more desirable due to affordability. In suburban or rural markets, 3 bedrooms might be the sweet spot. So, in summary, while both 2 bedrooms and 3-bedroom homes may have their place in your rental portfolio, the right choice really depends on your long term strategy. I've always said, what's your long term strategy? Reverse engineer how to get there. If you want affordability and faster scalability, maybe a 2-bedroom might be the way to go. But if it's long term tenants, stronger resale value, stable cash flow, and those are your priorities, that 3rd bedroom might just be worth the investment. So click the link in the show notes to access our free 7-step guide to buying your first rental property. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more deep dives like this one.